Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news together. See you soon. All right, welcome back to Headlines and History. Okay, that's what I call the show. Thanks for joining me for this Monday edition. Now, the so-called impartial BBC, like we covered last week, and the story is still ongoing, so here's the thing. They sliced Trump's January 6th words like a bad horror flick, making him sound like a riot ringleader, used it for their pretext to try to impeach him over an insurrection, a narrative that they still carry forward till today. And this splice was 54 minutes apart. Okay, if this was something like 5 minutes apart, it could have been said to have been sort of in context. These were things that were said 54 minutes apart. And finally, they've come to admit it after they were exposed. Now, a few of them, a couple of high-profile BBC executives have resigned, but Trump has announced that he is suing them for up to $5 billion. When the news came out last week, I said $1 billion was too small for BBC because they needed to feel the pinch. And then they put out a kind of a retraction, sort of an apology, and then they said they wouldn't be paying $1 billion. And then Trump says, okay, fine, since you don't want to pay $1 billion, we're going to be suing you for up to $5 billion. And people might be like, okay, so why does Trump have to flex his muscles? He's the most powerful person in the world. Why should he be doing this? Well, here's what I think. Okay, fake news shouldn't get a free pass anymore. Imagine if that was you and they did a hit piece on little old you and your life was ruined, your family was ruined. People thought that you were a criminal. People continue to tell me how much they think that President Trump carried out an insurrection. Even till today, 4 years later, people still say he inspired an insurrection. All right, so they should pay for it. Any outlet that had a hand in lying about any political figure to destroy them, to destroy their movement, shouldn't get a free pass. So we're going to be talking about this today. So join me as we break it down. We're going to look at some videos. We're going to react to it. But most importantly, please consider smashing the like button, liking the video, following the video, or subscribing if you're on YouTube, and consider supporting us in those ways. Your chat means a whole lot to us. So please send in your thoughts concerning this, and I will be covering every single conversation. All right, so just give me a second. I just realized that my video was a bit on the, I was too zoomed in. All right, so 1 second. So I've been trying to work on my setup because we are trying to get the call-in feature going. So eventually we're going to get that bit going. All right, let's dive into it. All right, so the first thing that we're going to look at is the story up here. All right, Canary King, greetings. How was your weekend? Well, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I am doing great. I hope I look great. These days, I've been staying up late. Sometimes I go to bed at 4 a.m. So sometimes I look at myself after I've live streamed and I'm like, oh, my eyes look puffy. All right. So, but it's one of those things. I'm really trying to make sure that everything works the way it should. Let me know if the audio and everything is working great. I'm doing my best to give you guys a great show. All right. Oh, your weekend was good. Amazing. All right. Now, if you're watching along with us, don't just leave the chat to Canary King and I. You can go ahead and dive in and let us know your thoughts. Let's watch this report before we read the breakdown on ground news. We're going to watch this. And here's President Trump on Air Force One being asked about his upcoming lawsuits.
We're under the Democrats.
Mr. President, Mr. President, my newspaper, The Telegraph, has led the way in exposing...
Are you the Telegraph? Oh, what a job you did. What a job you did. Are you proud of yourselves?
We've had a good...
How did you catch BBC like that?
We have good sources.
Honestly, congratulations. You did a great service to a lot of countries, a lot of great human beings, if you want to know the truth. And exposing what fake news is all about, what BBC did. Nobody would even think a thing like that was done. They actually changed the words coming out of my mouth.
So the BBC has apologised and retracted the report, but they say they won't pay any compensation.
Well, we'll sue them. We'll sue them for anywhere between $1 billion and $5 billion, probably sometime next week.
So you're ready to take...
Well, I think I have to do it. I mean, they've even admitted that they cheated. I mean, not that they couldn't have not done that. They cheated. They changed the words coming out of my mouth. That's worse than what CBS did with Kamala. They changed her answer, but at least they didn't show it, coming out of her mouth.
Do you think it's appropriate that British TV viewers have to pay more than $200 just for the right to watch television? Do you think the license...
Well, I don't know what they do in a place that I like a lot, in general UK, right? But the people of the UK are very angry about what happened, as you can imagine, because it shows that BBC is fake news. Of course, you and I knew that for a long time, but we didn't know it was this big.
Have you raised the issue with Sir Keir Starmer?
I have not, but I'll call him. I'm going to call him over the weekend. He actually put a call into me. He's very embarrassed by it. I don't know what percentage is owned by the country, but regardless if it's small or large or nothing, I can say this, the UK is very, very embarrassed by BBC, what they did.
Mr. President,
So here he is. He says that that he's going to be suing them for anywhere between $1 billion and $5 billion. I said 10 billion. Last week I said they have to be sued for up to $10 billion. This thing should be so it should be such a huge fine to pay that anyone who imagines doing something like this will just think twice, because it will bury that business. Now, sadly, the BBC is, yes, Canary King, you brought it to my attention originally, and I thank you for it. And guys, look, if you have any story that you think we should be zooming in on, feel free to let us know in the chat or send us an email at crossroadsirl@gmail.com. So this is insane. It's insane that a media outlet can be allowed to do what they did to President Trump. Now, in case you don't know what happened, here's what they did. Now, this is the clip, but let me play the breakdown that was made, because if you watch this clip, okay, so let's watch this clip.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
So without the narrative, the breakdown that was done by The Telegraph, All right, you wouldn't be able to tell how bad it was. So we're gonna do this instead. We're gonna watch this.
We're going to walk down to the
You
Capitol.
can hear the
and I'll be there
background
with you,
music,
and we
the
fight.
drama, the horror.
Fight like hell.
But Trump didn't, in fact, say this at all. The BBC spliced together two clips that took place 54 minutes apart. So let's go through it again.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you.
Now, see there, between Capitol and, that's a cut. Here's what Trump actually said.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women.
It's different. It wasn't until nearly an hour later that he then said the second part of the BBC's version.
Nearly an hour.
Walk down to the Capitol, and we fight. We fight like hell.
So that was what the BBC did to President Trump. Now I'm going to read the chat. So guys, while I'm doing this, just send in your chat. I will read them. So Canary King says, I hope Trump sues them. The audacity. Well, he's already sent them a letter. Their response was, we apologize. Two people have been asked to resign. They didn't fire them. They asked them to resign. Of course, there must have been a cushy deal for them because they did what they were told to do. And someone else comes in and says, okay, we apologize. This is a retraction. Sorry, two people have resigned, but we're not paying you $1 billion. And President Trump says, all right, game on. We're going to be suing you for upwards of $5 billion now. Up to $5 billion now. We said $1 billion before. Now we're going to be pushing for $5 billion. Now, Canadian says, the press is so corrupt. A free press is very important for a democracy to function properly. Trump needs to hold them accountable. Well, let's see where this goes, because Trump suing the BBC at this point is almost the same as him suing the United Kingdom, because the BBC is bankrolled by taxpayer licensing fees. There's a license that every British person pays to the BBC. If you own a radio in your car, you pay a radio license. That radio license goes to fund the BBC and so on, or public broadcasting. So essentially, he is telling the UK to pay him $5 billion. Let's see how that pans out. It sounds very gratifying to see President Trump holding the BBC accountable for what they did to him. But do you think this is going to go through? Okay, let me know in the chat. All right. Do you think this is going to happen? Do you think it's going to go through? Do you think President Trump will successfully go through with this and go home with at least $1 billion for his trouble? The lawsuit is a deterrent, but it's not enough. I agree that is because, let's see, when you have outlets like the BBC and even outlets like MSNBC and ABC being threatened with lawsuits, the question is, will they change? They won't. They would hold back until conditions are right for them to continue smearing and defaming people. I'm not holding my breath, to see that this would have a change or will create a change in the way conservatives are treated by the media and essentially by the entertainment industry. There's a lot of misrepresentation going on about what conservatives believe. Canary King says, when journalists lie and cheat, they are chipping away at public trust and weakening democracy. I agree. And for me, that's the thing that concerns me, guys. Okay, and let me know if it concerns you too. The thing that makes the West work is trust. When you live in a high trust society where you trust the government, you trust that the government will protect your rights. It means that you can feel free to engage in trade and in other things that you know that the government and the system will protect you. But when you begin to lose trust in the ability of the government and the system to protect you, to defend your rights, and not steamroll their machinery over you and trample your rights, it creates a third world scenario. The reason why people flee from the third world is because they don't have fundamental human rights. They don't have rights. So whenever trust is being weakened, it should be a huge red flag to all of us that something needs to be done. And the way things are fixed usually is when people are held accountable, no matter who you are. Now, while we're discussing the issue of trust, right, let's slide into another story that has been developing, Epstein. When the Epstein situation broke months ago, I did several videos. In fact, I spent a week berating the Trump administration, and here we're back at it again. All right, so, excuse me. Funny enough, this is footage from the BBC. So after the uproar from last week when the Democrats released a bunch of emails and so on, President Trump starts out, by not wanting to talk about it. Again, not a good look. And then, a bunch of stuff happens, all right? And then finally, President Trump is saying something completely different. He said, okay, fine, release the files, and he's urging the Republicans to vote. Okay, now I'm going about this, in a backwards manner. I haven't finished up the first story because I was going to read this breakdown. I don't want it to be like I'm just giving you my thoughts. So here's the report before we move on to the Epstein situation. All right. Trump says he will likely sue BBC for up to $5 billion over edited speech, despite apology. This is the center. All right. Right-leaning and left-leaning, reports tend to skew either way. But let's just read the neutral representation of the news. On Friday, President Donald Trump announced he plans to sue the BBC. We saw that. The panorama clip edited for late-night broadcast created concerns as it gave the mistaken impression that President Trump had made a direct call for violence. It was intentional. It wasn't a mistake. An internal memo earlier this month raised about the 6th January 2021 speech. On Thursday, the BBC apologized, calling the edit error of judgment and promising Panorama will not be broadcast again in this form, but refused to pay compensation. The controversy has already produced the resignations of BBC Director Jim Davey and Head of the News Deborah Turners. I found out that Deborah Turners was once the head of MSNBC. And it's like, oh, there's a connection there. Because MSNBC is just TDSBC, Trump Derangement Syndrome Broadcasting Corporation. That is what they are. In a November 9th letter, Trump's lawyers set a Friday evening deadline for apology, retraction, and compensation. They refused compensation, so I guess the lawsuit is going forward. President Trump says this week, and sometime between today and Friday, we're going to hear about what they're going to be doing about all of this. So that's the update. I hope I have this in order. Okay, so let's start from this This was Trump's response to the emails that were released last week.
New details are surfacing from those 20,000 documents released in connection to late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Now some of Epstein's accusers are joining in the push by lawmakers to make even more of the investigation public. And our chief White House correspondent, Peter Alexander, has the latest.
This morning, the Jeffrey Epstein fallout is growing after the release of tens of thousands of documents from the late sex offender's estate. Now a push for more transparency, including from some in the president's own party.
I don't think this is going to go away, and as a moral principle, I think they ought to release the records.
President Trump, for the second straight day, ignoring questions about their friendship. Shortly after the materials were released on Wednesday, the president, who's never been accused of any wrongdoing linked to Epstein, dismissed it as a hoax. Now, for the first time since the House Oversight Committee made the documents public, we're hearing from the family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre, one of Epstein's most vocal accusers, who died by suicide this year. The White House revealing Giuffre was the victim whose name had been redacted in a newly released email, in which Epstein claims she spent hours at his home with Mr. Trump. Giuffre's brother, Sky Roberts, speaking to NBC's Hallie Jackson about her name being revealed.
I just want to remind President Trump and the White House that survivors are not political toys.
Giuffre never accused the president of wrongdoing, and in her
So here we go with the politicization of this. This is a very political situation because you have world leaders who are involved in the Epstein scandal. You have President Trump having him at Mar-a-Lago, but eventually said he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago when he found out he was a creep. That's on the record. We also have President Bill Clinton being connected to Epstein. And of course, my speculation, and this is a speculation, not an accusation, is that there are other people in government who were connected to Epstein. Now, I want us to watch out for this shell game that I think is going to be played. The Democrats are currently calling and screaming at the top of their lungs for the files to be released. Here's what I think is going to happen, and you guys will let me know if you think that is a valid projection. Democrats call for it to be released. The Republicans will fumble the ball and it won't be released. Then after a while, the Republicans will get up and say, release the files, and then the Democrats fumble the ball and won't release the files. And on it goes. Because last week, we had Tim Burchett. I'm going to play this video from Tim Burchett. Give me a second. So Tim Burchett claims that he raised a motion on the floor. He raised a motion on the floor to release the files, and it was shut down. I guess I'm going to have to find this so we can look at it. Tim Burchett says he recommended that they release all the Epstein files. And Democrats shut him down. Okay, so this is the, I guess this is the, is this it? I think it is. Okay, so let's listen to this because I watched a different one where he just stepped out of the Capitol building. So let's listen to this.
This upcoming bill to release the Epstein files?
Yeah, that's why I just put a bill up. I just tried to move it ahead because what you're seeing right now is what exactly is going to happen, going to continue happening. Everybody's going to pull little piecemeal portions. Sorry about that. I got to animate. I'm Southern Baptist. They're going to pull portions of it out, and they're going to try to fit their own little narrative. Both sides are going to do it. You all know it. You're all going to feed upon it. Let's just get the dadgum bill out. Let's vote it out. And the Democrats oppose me on it. And it's stupid. It's all about politics. It's not about taking care of young ladies who got abused, and we should take care of them. But there's a process in place. The Democrats have had it for 4 years and didn't do a dadgum thing. And you know if Trump was in that thing, Biden, the rest, and Kamala Harris, I mean, he's the Antichrist to them. They would have already had it out. What you got?
I was going to ask.
So, just what he said, okay? What he said. He says, this is what's going to happen. They're going to continue shifting from left to the right, trying to shift the blame to either party. And what I suspect is there are Democrats implicated and there are Republicans implicated. Tim Burchett tried to push a motion forward to release all the files. And according to him, and this is a public statement on the record, Democrats shut down that motion. So when they stand up and try to appear to be holier than thou and accuse the Republicans of being the ones blocking it, I think both parties are implicated. What do you think? All right, I think both parties are implicated. But I don't think President Trump is implicated, because if President Trump was implicated, those files would have been released. And all the evidence with his connection to Epstein and evidence of wrongdoing would have been out there for all the world to see. The Democrats wanted to bury President Trump. Over the last 3 years, they took him to court, dragged him through court, tried to bankrupt his family, tried to seize his assets. They tried everything to bury President Trump. If he was in the Epstein files, that would have been released. Now, that doesn't explain why President Trump's, or at least his administration, has been fumbling the ball where the Epstein files are concerned. Now, recently, President Trump, he did something. All right. Let's see. He called for a probe into the Epstein files and the connections with Bill Clinton.
Now, President Trump says he wants the FBI and the Justice Department to investigate alleged links between the late sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein and former Democratic President Bill Clinton. Posting on Truth Social, the president's announcement came amid mounting questions over his own relationship with his former friend Epstein. Let's speak now to our North America correspondent, Neda Tawfik. Neda, I've been looking at this post on Truth Social, at which President Trump says Epstein was a Democrat and he is the Democrats' problem. Tell us more about what he's been saying.
Yeah, well, as you know, this is a controversy that just won't go away for President Donald Trump. And after this week, this latest kind of tranche of 20,000 pages from the Epstein estate revealed new communications, personal emails of Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone combed through it, including Democrats, who highlighted 3 emails in particular regarding President Donald Trump. But in those files were several other names. And so we see President Donald Trump now trying to kind of change the narrative, control the narrative here, specifically for his base that doesn't want to let this Epstein controversy go, despite him urging Republicans and his base that it's all a hoax. So President Trump in this Truth Social post is now suggesting that this is another Russia scam. He's referring to previous investigations that looked into whether, the Trump campaign had colluded with Russia to help his chances during the election. And so he has always kind of held a grudge about the investigations that were held at that time. And so he is saying that Epstein, this controversy...
Why is it that whenever they cover Trump's reasons for holding this grudge, they want to normalize the fact that this was a fabricated hoax? They lied, trying to derail his campaign, and eventually it's been revealed that it was all fabricated and that the sitting president colluded with the FBI and the CIA to try to smear candidate Donald Trump. But, there's nothing to see here. He shouldn't hold a grudge. He doesn't deserve the right to hold a grudge. The Democrats for 4 years demonized him. He wasn't in office, but every time they stood up to say anything about policy or politics, they would bring up MAGA, they would bring up President Trump, they would bring up January 6th. The guy isn't in office, but they kept behaving like he was the person that was the most dangerous person in the world. He had to be included in every speech. We all saw this happening for years. Kenneth Kane says Epstein and Trump are New Yorkers and Floridians. Those guys were into some freaky stuff. My guy, let us see the evidence. Let's have all the files out. Okay, let's have all the files out. Republicans or MAGA supporters have been calling for it. But the question always comes up, if President Trump was implicated in the files, how come the Democrats didn't release it in order to bury him and keep him from running? It's a question no one has been able to answer properly, because there's always that nuance of, okay, so maybe he's in the file, but along with other people. And if they have to release the files containing his records, then they have to release content about everyone else. That might just be the scenario that we're working with. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. But I've said this before. Wealthy people have access to be able to do whatever they like. And sometimes because they're wealthy and bored, they get into some really nasty things. I would not be surprised, okay, if eventually President Trump is implicated. Okay, I would not be surprised. But the question is he? All right, is he? Canarigan says Bill Clinton was deep in with Epstein. Well, as we can see on the screen, President Trump is calling on the FBI to investigate Jeffrey Epstein's involvement and relationship with Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Reid Hoffman, JP Morgan Chase, and many other people and institutions to determine what was going on with them and him. All right, and he says this is another Russia scam, with all arrows pointing to the Democrats. Records show that these men and many others spent large portions of their life with Epstein and on his island. Stay tuned. Look, Bill Clinton was deep with Epstein. Look, why is it that I have this sad foreboding that this isn't going away. For the next 3 years, we're going to continue to have this rancid smell pushed up our noses every time the Democrats drop a ball. But the part that upsets a lot of people who are Trump supporters is the fact that it was the Trump camp that created this insanity. Trump is a New Yorker. He has been on radio in New York describing his freaky stuff throughout the 80s and 90s. Ask anyone from New York. All right? Is anyone else who's from New York watching? Because Canary King is a New Yorker. He's followed this for decades. The only thing I know about Trump is what I can find online and what I remember seeing on sitcoms, like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, okay, when he showed up on one of the episodes or in one of the episodes. So it's different when you're watching from a distance than when you're in there watching this thing evolve through the years. So if you're a New Yorker and you're watching, you can give us some of the some of the details on this. Like I said, wealthy people tend to get up to some nastiness. They do. They do. Right, so let's see if we can go through the rest of this report.
Actually points to Democrats. And so in this Truth Social posts, he says he's going to have his Attorney General Pam Bondi start investigating Epstein's relationships, not with just Bill Clinton, but Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary and president of Harvard, who exchanged numerous emails with Epstein that were shown in this latest tranche. Larry Summers, has said he regrets staying in touch with Epstein after he was found to have, had these relations with young girls. The Post goes on to say that he wants Attorney General Pam Bondi to look at J.P. Morgan and Chase and other institutions and their relationships with Epstein. And what's interesting, Anita, is House Oversight Democrats wanted more transparency and investigations into Jeffrey Epstein's ties with financial institutions. So we'll see what this leads to if, in fact, the Attorney General does pursue these investigations. And then, of course, the big question is, will they make all of that public?
Neda, very briefly, if you would, as we're almost out of time, in directing Pam Bondi and others to investigate certain Democrats, isn't it drawing attention, though, to the fact that President Trump has not released the Epstein files, which Democrats have been calling for?
Absolutely. I mean, this administration.
The way left-leaning media portrays President Trump and his power as a president is confusing to anyone who doesn't know what they're doing. They're the ones who loved the fact that there was a No Kings protest. They spotlight and highlight leftists who claim that President Trump is authoritarian and he wants to be a king. Yet, they want him to do kingly things like unilaterally releasing the Epstein files. But everyone knows that this requires a vote from the House because some of it requires certain laws to be breached in order for him to release them. There are grand jury testimonies. There's stuff in there that needs to be filtered through before they hit the public space, according to what we've been told. So which is it? Do you guys want him to act like a king and simply rip the files away from the FBI and publish it online? Or do you want to go through the process? First off, you guys at the House and Senate who might be watching this, you guys need to get your act together and decide that this has to be taken care of for the sake of the American people. But of course, we know that most politicians aren't there for the sake of the American people. They're all there for their own selfish reasons. So that's my take on it. Can in the chat, please, if you're watching and you enjoy the way this conversation is going, consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, share the video, and hit the chat, okay? The chat is for you. I want to hear what you have to say about it. Now, Kanarikin says his appearance on Howard Stern's show was legendary. So much fun. The guy enjoyed himself to the limit. Of course, he was wealthy, he was young, he was already a millionaire by the time he was 34. One good thing about Trump is he was never a drug user, unlike many of the others. That's true. And that's the thing that that separates him from everyone else. Okay, he doesn't take alcohol, he doesn't take drugs. All right, he likes women. Okay, everyone has a vice. Everyone has a vice. So everyone, guys, you need to know yourself. Okay, know what your weaknesses are and figure out how to protect yourself from yourself, because everyone's biggest enemy is you. Okay, you are your biggest enemy. So let's wrap up this. And then there's one more report that we need to look at.
Has had so many self-inflicted wounds in dealing with this.
Yep.
And no doubt many will say, look, if you think this is all about the Democrats, why are you not releasing the Department of Justice's files on this issue?
Okay, Neda, thank you very much. Neda.
Yeah, that is a valid question. And I've asked that question. And my response will always be that both parties are implicated. Oh, Clerican, he likes women. Or let's say he loves women, super hot ones too. He can afford to, well, do you know what? Okay, following the history of Trump's engagement with women, let me say it that way. He loves them and they loved him too, because the guy was good looking and the guy was wealthy and is wealthy. But at the time, he's in his 30s, he's good looking, tall, and he is rich. Okay? Like, there's no woman who wouldn't want to be connected to, with him, and he had his pick. He had his pick. So, yeah, he enjoyed himself to the limit. He did. All right. So, let's see. Let's switch over to John Fetterman. All right. Now we're going to watch this, react, and then we're going to take your comments in the chat, and I'm going to read some comments from the audience from other videos that have been released.
5 minutes.
Oh wait, sure. Oh my gosh, what is it? Hey, I've heard that the government is shut down. Is that true?
I think that is the case.
Well, it's fake news. What? Yeah.
What do you say to Democrats who have blocked this bill now 11 times?
Wrong, respectfully wrong to do that. Open up the government. I believe John Thune is an honorable man, and I do believe we could have a serious conversation to talk about extending these tax credits. I've always supported that. You could check my record. I vote for that. And now no one can control what the president wants to do. I mean, he's going to do what he's going to, whatever. But I do believe it's entirely appropriate now. Open it back up. We have to now, even people in my state, and SNAP is now like people need that to eat. And now this is about who's winning, who's like, well, America's losing.
Are the Democrats,
Do you think Paul Ingrassia is unfit to lead the Office of Special Counsel in light of the Politico report about messages he sent?
I don't, what?
Are Democrats' position hurting your constituents right now?
I'm saying that, my wife has dedicated her professional career for food insecurity, and right now she's doing it right now as we're speaking. And now food insecurity is a real thing. I see that. I mean, people live that. And now because we're having this political back and forth, and it's wrong. And that's why I do believe we can achieve extending those tax credits. And now that's where we need to be right now. We're into the month of that. That's a core responsibility. Open it up. It's crazy.
Senator, what message does it send that lawmakers are going home every weekend? Is it time to kind of batten down the hatches and stay here to get this done?
What I'm saying is, like, there are no winners here. It's not getting better every day here. People are going to start to get really hungry, and I've been fully committed to fund, SNAP, and now.
All right, so they're going round and round and round about this. The point I want to get to is where he talks about ending the filibuster. All right, because we're going to run into this again. I hope I can find that spot.
And it's shouldn't be here doing
Senator,
it.
some of your Republican colleagues have proposed nuking the filibuster to force the government to reopen. What do you?
Yeah, of course. Carve it out for that. Absolutely. We ran on that. We ran on killing the filibuster.
Yeah.
We love it. It's like carve it out so we can move on. And I support it because it makes it more difficult to shut the government down in the future, and that's
Yeah.
where it's entirely appropriate. And I don't want to hear any Democrat clutching their pearls about the filibuster. We all ran on it. I ran
Yeah.
on that in my, so like that's, yeah.
Yeah, so that is John Fetterman. I think very soon he'll be leaving the Democrat Party, either to run as an independent or he'll be switching over to the Republican Party, because the Democrats do not tolerate dissenters. Okay, so that is John Fetterman talking about nuking the filibuster. I at one point was like, the filibuster should be protected, because I assumed it was a constitutional provision to protect the minority, not minority, but the party that is the minority in Congress, to be able to protect them, to allow them hedge their votes in order to keep things from moving forward and getting steamrolled. Only for me to find out that it was essentially a gentleman's agreement, in Congress, where everyone agreed that it was okay for you to use the filibuster in order to protect yourself or to delay votes on anything you didn't feel comfortable about, even though you were in the minority, to any convictions. They don't. It's all a game. It is all something that they use to manipulate the general population to vote. And you need to learn to look out for the inconsistencies and the hypocrisies. The same way we do for mainstream media, we should do the same for politicians. One of the reasons why President Trump is such a game changer is he doesn't operate like most politicians. The thing he says, he does. The one black mark we see is the Epstein files. So it's interesting that we get to watch some of this flip-flopping in real time. We all remember Democrats saying that they want to get rid of the filibuster. Now suddenly, it shouldn't be touched. It's important. It is undemocratic to even mention or even hint at removing the filibuster. All right. Okay, so back to your comments. We're going to be going into comments and we're going to be looking at the chat. All right. So first off, we're going to look at the comments in the comment section. We'll look into my it's not set up yet. I need to go into the community. So you're all looking at my back end. All right, let's see. We're going to look at a few messages in the chat. First, I'm going to respond to Canary King's message because, he's live. And you know what? Thank you so much, Canary King, for engaging in the chat. Guys, if you're watching, please consider letting me know your thoughts in the chat. Whatever it is you heard that you agree with or don't agree with, let me know in the chat. Or if you're watching after the fact, let me know in the comment section. We will read. I do my best to read every comment, every chat. Sometimes it's a painful process when you're reading certain takes that are hard to stomach, but I need to read your thoughts, understand what you're saying, but I also give you my position on things. Still on Trump showing up on Howard Stern's show. So you can imagine him describing it on New York radio. We were all glued to the speakers. Okay, so, President Trump was aspirational. Everybody wanted to be him. Everybody wanted to be him. Wealthy, had his pick of the litter. So this comment is from the video Stunning Admission. Senator Angus King says, standing up to Trump's strategy failed. All right. Truth Hurts to You says, standing up always fails when you're spineless and capitulate. I don't know what to think about this comment. Essentially, if you don't have a backbone, and honestly, to have a backbone, you need to have convictions. To have a backbone, you need to have convictions. And most times when you look, just like we just saw with the Fetterman, the Fetterman interview, most times we run into this scenario where politicians want to appear virtuous. They want to appear like they're in it for the greater good. But when there's pushback, you begin to see whether they actually have convictions. All right. Now, tonight's show, I'm considering walking through a very, it's a documentary that Tucker Carlson released last week, and it's raising a lot of eyebrows. I'm thinking that we could go through that tonight. We could all do a watch party and look at it tonight and discuss some of the things I think and some of the things I feel about what's going on right now, not just with politics in America in general, but with the MAGA movement. There's a MAGA civil war going on. And I know most of you who follow this channel follow because you're Trump supporters, you support his policies, you're common sense people, and you don't want to look at anything that makes it look like you're on the wrong side of things. Believe me, if you're a common sense person, you are not on the wrong side of things. You are on the right side of things simply by being common sense, because whenever you see things changing, you make a decision for justice, for righteousness, for good. All right? You don't shift the goalpost because it's inconvenient. And so I respect you for that, but I respect you enough to also talk about things that are uncomfortable and say things that are uncomfortable. I mean, I say things, many times that I am uncomfortable with, but because it's the truth, I have to say it. Like today, I said Trump might very well be, guilty of wrongdoing because of like all of this. But I did flip it and say, but if he was, they could have they could have released the files. However, I flip back again to say everyone is implicated. Okay, so these are hard things to swallow. Is it possible for us to hold to two things at the same time? Yes, it is. We can balance these things out in our heads, because that's the only way you can walk through life in a sane way. Else, you're just going to struggle. Today is one thing, and it makes you intellectually inconsistent. Today, filibusters are the best thing since sliced bread. Tomorrow, no, it's not, because somebody else has the power to nuke the filibuster. Okay? Or because, someone else has the power to nuke the filibuster. So let's try and be consistent. Okay. So Power Reason 7761, he's an old subscriber. He's been with me for a long time. So he's responding to the video stunning clip. Zoran Mamdani says city will take over private buildings. Okay. He says this, yes, same here in the UK. The 1945 Labour government brought in National Socialism, having just had a war with Hitler's National Socialism. You see, I mean, there's a lot of, when you look at history, the contradictions stand out like crazy. They were going through the exact same issue with contradictions. It is like what we're seeing with certain people in politics. They pretend like the other side is the devil until they decide, okay, most of their constituents want what the other side wants, and then they pretend that they've always been that way. There's a lot of pretense going on in politics, and with what he just said, it's weird. You faced an existential war with a country that was led by a party that was for National Socialism, and then you flip it around and you too become National Socialists. It's like, what's going on here? Honestly, what's going on here? The coal industry was nationalized. However, in October 1966, the piled-up coal slid down the hill and killed hundreds of children. I remember seeing that scene on an episode of The Crown. If you haven't seen The Crown on Netflix, it's an amazing biopic of Queen Elizabeth. You know, and a few incidents during her reign. I haven't finished the last season yet. I haven't even started the last season, but it's been amazing so far. Known as the Aberfan disaster, the mine had existed for hundreds of years. Take away the profit motive and you destroy responsible management. That is what people don't realize. People who call for socialism, they're like, let the government control everything. Do you want your country to be run like the DMV? Because that's what you're asking for. You want everything to run like the DMV. You want the supply chain to run like the DMV. You want the supermarkets to run like the DMV. You go in to buy something, it's never there. Things that you order they arrive late or they're stolen. I mean, that is what will happen when the government runs everything. So thank you, Power Reason, for that. I will give it a like and thumbs up. Okay. This video had this comment, stunning collapse. Chuck Schumer becomes least popular Democrat leader. This video has been getting a lot of eyeballs. And Sunshine says, bring on AOC. Trump hires and fires bartenders. I am not sure what he means. Not sure what he means. I don't know what to think about it. Okay, and then let's take this as the last comment. I'm going to be keeping the afternoon live streams as brief as possible. So if you have more comments in the chat, this is the time to push them in because we're on the final stretch. Obamacare made healthcare worse. So, come on. What did I do? I hit the back button. Hope it goes back to the... Okay, Obamacare made healthcare worse. And let's see. Okay, so this viewer, Skrigeg, says, the Republicans blocked the Affordable Care Act until the Dems caved to all their demands. Then, to serve the industry groups that own the GOP, the Republicans all voted against it. It's still better than nothing that the GOP offers. Now, compared to what? Because people had could pay for their own healthcare, and when you kind of do the numbers, it tends to be cheaper to pay for your own healthcare rather than be on the Affordable Care Act. So, if the Republicans didn't do anything about that, and it has proven to be cheaper than Obamacare, then I would say, and this is me just using deduction, simple deduction, I would say that the Republicans not doing anything about it was a good thing. It's like people who say that the government should get involved in business, and they try to massage this ideology that the government being involved in business is a good thing. However, whenever historically you look back and see where government has interjected itself or inserted itself into business, we find that things always go bad. The government is not good at business. Okay. So it's almost like having that argument transposed to that conversation where it says the Democrats have always been for reform in this business industry or that industry or the other industry, and the Republicans have done nothing, because Republicans know that the best way to encourage businesses and to make sure that the industries grow is for government to stay out of business, and that's a good thing. So that's my own simple deductive way of looking at it. So, Skrigeg, you made a point. And to be honest, I appreciate the comments that come in without insults and without all of the attempts to demonize the other side. This is a simple observation, and I respect it. And I hope I've been able to give a very simple and deductive response to the comment. All right, so we're wrapping up. Tonight, we're going to be live at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to basically be looking at a few upcoming, a few developing news stories, but we're going to focus on the documentary by Tucker Carlson. We're going to look at it, and I hope you join us for that, because I want to look at the Thomas Crookes revelation that he's discussing. Tucker Carlson has been under fire recently because he interviewed Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes has very, go ahead. If you have questions, you can go ahead and shoot your questions. Nick Fuentes has very grating statements about Negroes, about African countries. He's been said to be racist and so on. And I don't listen to his show. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. Understanding why people believe what they believe is one thing. Agreeing with it after you understand is up to you. But for Tucker Carlson, he's being attacked because he essentially didn't fight with Nick Fuentes when he invited Nick on his show. Okay, I think the interview went the way it should have gone. Allow the man to say what he thinks about different things. You don't have to act like TDSBC and attack everyone who doesn't see things the way you do. Let them speak. Let the audience make up their mind. I think we should have more of that. So Tucker Carlson did that. And remember, Tucker had insulted Nick Fuentes weeks before, calling him someone who looked like he was a homosexual and so on, living in his mother's basement and so on. He didn't know anything about Nick Fuentes. And when he said that, people were like, yay, you owned Nick, and then he has this interview with Nick Fuentes, apologizes for preemptively categorizing him and attacking him, and then they go on to have a conversation. All right. So, let's see. So I'm going to take this question on the screen. Have you been reviewing trending topics? It's important to maintain growth and momentum on the channel. I have been trying to now when you say trending topics, okay, so and that's why I ask for the audience to send in their questions, the like topics that they want me to handle, because I've been trying to follow trending topics, and it is difficult to do that in a way that caters to the demographic on this channel. So when you look at my feed, okay, so I'm going to show you my feed so that you have an idea what goes on in my feed. My feed is a mix of news, and then there's culture. Here you can see libs of TikTok. Muslim at this school chose to occupy campus library to conduct their prayers despite university designing multiple prayer rooms in a mosque next door, blah, blah, blah. Like, there are feeds like this. And when you look at my trending section, trending is Marjorie Taylor Greene's skiff or spat with MAGA or with the president. All right. I think this is Canadian news. I don't do Canadian news, so I ignore that. This is Nigerian news, and I don't do Nigerian news. My X profile is so skewed that I struggle to kind of figure out what exactly I should be looking for, because I usually use X to do some fact checking with community notes to make sure that the stories I'm looking at aren't misinformation. So that's how I kind of try to sanitize it. All right. News and culture are good general themes. Okay. So I'm going to I'm going to work on, okay, for example, today's news, NYPD. No, I was going to cover that either tonight or tomorrow. Marjorie Taylor Greene's situation was something that I was looking at. Let me see if I can show you something, because this was Saturday. All right, this was me on Saturday prepping for MTG. Okay, so it's not like I don't look at these things. I do, but at the same time, I'm trying to honor and respect the audience to make sure that I'm dealing with stories that they value. Okay, so now there's a sprinkle some Nigeria. You had a spike when we talked about it. Yes, we did, and I think it was largely because of the emotional component of that story. I've been following the developments. Let's jump on hot topics quickly. So I can do several things. I can do, instead of having something prepared, because now for those of you who are following, okay, please let me know your thoughts. Now we're having a conversation. This is freestyle, unplanned. So I'm just having a conversation with you guys in the chat. All right. Jumping on hot topics quickly might look like this. It might look like me having like a default. I'm going to just do something weird here. Having a default. I need to find the photo that I used for. I did something on Saturday. I just want to put it out there. Jeez, where's all this stuff? I did a photo. I did a photo. Okay, I'm trying really hard to explain this. Okay, yeah. So this is what I did on Saturday. All right, give me a second. Where is it? All right, so whenever we do these live streams, you don't need to over prepare. Yeah. Whenever we do these live streams, there are several things that I have to consider. In YouTube, you need to have a great thumbnail and title to get people to join. When I did the first Nigeria live stream, the one that happened, okay, I don't know if you joined on that Sunday. It was a Sunday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern, and there was a surge. We had, by the end of the live stream, I think we had close to 600 views on that live stream on this channel. The thumbnail was thought out, prepared, and I put it out. All right, just give me a second. My wife is calling, and I'm not sure why, so I have to take her call. Just give me a second. 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, so the surge is what we want to replicate. Yes, Canary King, I agree with that. However, I'm looking at what caused the surge. There was the topic, it was trending. Then there was the thumbnail, all right? The thumbnail that I used, I'm going to see if I can find the thumbnail. The thumbnail that I used was very, it was very provocative. I would use the word provocative. All right. So this is what it was. I'm going to just open it up. Give me a second. I'm going to open it up and let's see. Windows, merge all windows. Yeah. So this was the thumbnail that I used for that live stream. Pushed almost 600,000. I wish 600,000 views. I wish. Well, about 600 views for the live stream. But it wasn't like there were 600 people on the live stream. They looked, came in, stayed for a couple of minutes, and then left. Okay, so off and on, that was what happened. Now, I did another live stream, and I did, let's see, this was another live stream following up the Nigeria thing. Let me show you what that looked like. And this one had about 600 views as well. Now, there are several things that happen with YouTube. With YouTube, you need to have a good thumbnail, you need to have a good title, and when people come into the show, they need to feel like it's a good experience. So I try to make it all of that because I respect your time and I want the videos or the live streams to do well. I also like live streams like this where we have a back and forth and so on. Now, because the preparation is required, what I might do is have like what some people do is they just have a simple title for the show and they just do a thumbnail. I know someone who does an AI generated thumbnail. He already has a large following. He averages 2,000 views on his live streams. So he doesn't do as much as I do with my thumbnails. I think he may be doing way more, and I don't know what goes on in the back end. All right. So a trending topic: spicy thumbnails. What is the prep for? I feel like, okay, so the prep is this. I feel obligated to the audience to be able to present the story in a way that is more prepared, if you will. That's what the prep is for. I feel bad when I don't feel prepared for the live stream. I feel like I'm wasting your time, so maybe it's just imposter syndrome, maybe. But I do my best to bring my A game. I'm doing this for my spare bedroom. This is more or less my 9-to-5 for now. I could be doing this in my pajamas, but I get all dressed up. I try to look as good as I can. And I try to also make sure the content is as well sorted out as I can. There have been times, there was a time last week when I tried to live stream and the feed on Twitter or X wasn't playing. So now I've opted to downloading the video. So here you can see that I've downloaded all these videos. I had to literally download the videos from X so that I wouldn't have any issues where the the X feed was not playing. So I have to download this and then sequence the videos so that when I'm ready to play each story, I play each story. Then at the same time, I also have I have to have like an outline of sorts. I'm going to just show you the outline. All right, so guys, this is members only stuff that I'm showing you. This is stuff I should be showing to my members only. Okay, so I didn't do this for this this live stream because I kind of knew what I was going to be talking about. But what I usually do is I have these outlines. So I have the story or the topic that I'm handling. I have the lead up to the story. Usually I kind of have something like summarized that tells me what the story is about. And then I have the link to the YouTube video or the X video. And then if I have several videos that tie together, I kind of lump them up in a batch so that I can have them connect. And sometimes I only take one or two of them if I don't need all of the linking stories. You know, have I done anything about the H-1B visa? I haven't done these stories yet. Okay, like these are stories that while I'm doing my research, I line them up. Most of these I haven't done. Okay, so I download, sequence the videos, I have an outline, and then after I have that, I then decide, okay, I need to do a thumbnail. I do my thumbnails with Adobe Express. All right, so I fire up Adobe Express, and then I dive into, I have thumbnail templates. Guys, I'm just pulling back the kimono, showing you guys what I do. All right, so this is where I do my thumbnails. This is the template for the live streams. This is the template for the episodes that I do. You know, so I just have these things and I just change the text, and then I switch out the photo. If I need to do a different photo of Trump, I go in here, flip it, and then change it into something else. Okay, this was a thumbnail that I was thinking of doing, but maybe that's for later. So the hot topic. So what I'm thinking I might be doing, listening to you, because Canary King, I've listened to you for a while. I listened to you when you told me I should do lives more. I listened to you. I'm listening to you now about topics and titles and hot topics. My selection method is what I'm trying to work on. I'm trying to work on my method of selecting hot topics. Usually I look at what's trending, what's top on my feed. Like here, today's hot topic is New York PD hijab tutorial draws conservative criticism. Next one, Chicago public schools spend 7.7 million in luxury staff travel. These are the things that it says are trending, which I'm like, are they that important to my audience? If I go to trending, I'm looking at these things and I'm like, I don't know what to do with these. Expedition 33 is a game. I don't know if we're doing gaming here. Okay. Moana is trending in the United States. Why? I don't know. I don't know if you guys want me to start doing movie reviews as well. So it takes a lot of work to kind of filter through these things. I'm trying to figure out, and to be honest, I'm trying to figure out the best way to find the best stories. Okay, New York hijab is fascinating. Maybe we talk about it tonight. Maybe we can talk about it tonight. If those stories are more interesting than simply diving into the Thomas Crooks documentary that Tucker Carlson did, then we can move in that direction. Maybe when we come up tonight and we're like, okay, what are we talking about tonight? And I give the options and people say, look, we want to talk about this instead. Then we go ahead and talk about the trending news. Let's see, can you get the prep down to 20 minutes? I'm trying very hard. I'm trying very hard to narrow it down as much as I can. I'm trying hard. If I focus on just 2 stories, and then while we're doing the 2 stories, if there's conversation and if other things come up and we can go ahead and talk about other things, that might help. Okay, that might help to crash the prep time down to 20 minutes. The part that bothers me is I want to be sure that the stories matter to the audience. I might have a story that excites me, but I'm not sure it's something the audience wants to talk about. And there have been times when I captured lightning in a bottle, like the Nigeria ultimatum by Trump. That was one time I captured lightning in a bottle, essentially by tackling a topic that shockingly people in the United States were interested in. My audience are primarily in the United States, and a handful, like my main audience is the United States, and then, okay, how much time do you spend on each story? 10 minutes. 10 minutes. So my plan originally, I think we've discussed this before. Do 10 minutes per story, have 4 stories. Today, I focused on 3 stories, so I gave extra time to each story in order to land at, say, 40, 45 minutes and then engagement. The other thing that also affects the duration for each story is how much time I use to react to the chat. If the chat is really active on a particular story, it can kind of extend how much time we spend on that story. So there's 2 options. One is I react to the chat in real time while the story is going on, or I ignore the chat and wait until the end of the presentation of all the stories before I start responding to the chat. And many times when that happens, I lose context. I've had people who drop the chat, and by the time I responded to the chat, they weren't watching the show. They'd already tuned out or they'd gone on with their day. So I'm trying to balance that thing of real-time engagement with having great time management with the stories that are, or the topics that are being discussed. Topic selection for me, 7 minutes per story. Let's pull back to 7 minutes per story, hit the highlights, give your opinion, and move on to the next. I can do that. I can totally do that. My problem is, while I'm doing that, and I see, let's say I see you in the chat, I feel it's rude to not respond to your questions or your messages or your observations. It's just a me thing. I've thought about doing this presentation like I usually do my videos. My videos are like, I do the reaction, do the story, I record it and then save it and edit and I go. So if I simply went through the stories and say, here's the story, here's what's going on, boom, and then I move on to the next one, boom, I move on to the next one. Then when I'm done with the stories, I go to the chat and I begin to respond to the chat. That would be the way this would work. If I say I'm going to be doing 7 minutes per story or 8 minutes per story, I can do that if I don't respond to the chat. So there has to be like this, maybe I'll keep a message in the Chiron below that says, I'll respond to your messages as soon as I'm done with the stories. Keep them coming. Maybe that's what I'll have to do if I'm going to meet this requirement or do what you're suggesting, which I have thought about too. I've thought about it, but last week I actually thought to myself, I'm going to just come in, do the stories, and then respond to the chat. But it's really hard to do because I respect my audience, even the ones who don't like me very much. I respect my audience. If you took the time to post a message, I don't want you to feel like you're being ignored. But that moment I take to kind of say something to the chat kind of stretches. Let's see, say hi and cover the first story in 5 minutes, 2 minutes for the chat, move on to the next repeat. Okay, I like that. I'll do that. I will do that. I will do that. Now, for topic selection. All right, for topic selection, what I want to lean into, recommendations by the audience. That's what I want to lean into. So I also want you guys to let me know what you think. Okay, so in the news today, the New York City hijab tutorial is really high up there. So we'll do it tonight. Bill Maher challenges Patton Oswalt on Democratic Party's leftward shift in podcast clash. Bill Maher, Oprah, and The View, a few other people kind of have a very tight hold on their content. So if I play anything, regarding their content, the channel will get a copyright notification. So I try to avoid that. So I might avoid this if there's a video. Chicago public schools. Okay. ICE arrests undocumented Hanover Park officer. So this is an old story, but is making a comeback. All right. The Hanover Park officer, I think this is the guy in Chicago. So maybe, the top 3 trending stories we will look at. So I think you're right. I think I should do this, focus on the trending stories, and just let us talk about those important stories. All right. I think we should do that. Okay, I totally appreciate your input. Everyone else who's watching, I don't know why you're quiet. Let's know what you think. In the chat or in the comment section. So about the thumbnails. Okay. About the thumbnails, I will just see what I can do to make sure that it is easier to put together, because thumbnails are like psychology. You need to read into how the audience might respond to the thumbnail. So that tends to take more time than it actually, I feel it should, but it's actually the most important bit about the preparation of the announcement. So the next thing I do, just so that you know, so after I have all of this in order, the next thing I do is I have to schedule them. I schedule the live stream with the title of the live stream, what it's about, and the thumbnail. I try to schedule it hours before. On some days it is done. I'm not able to do that. And so it takes, it comes out later than it should. Okay. So, Now, thanks for your feedback. I'm just going to take a look at the live chat. Okay. So we've talked about this, and I've accepted the feedback. It's very constructive. It's very helpful. I know that this is all about bringing out the best in the presentation and the programming of the show. I want you to know that this show isn't cluster your comments into sound bites. Yeah, I will try. I tend to talk too much. I try to over-explain things. So I'm going to just learn how to cut down on the length of the comments and just give you the highlights. My challenge with that is I know that life isn't a collection of sound bites. There are very nuanced things to say about some of these stories. But I will try. I will do my best. I will do my best. All right, so we're going to be back again this evening, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be practicing these new adjustments to the live stream. I'll be practicing these new adjustments to the live stream. Okay, I'm wondering why this comment didn't pop up. Don't over-explain. Hit the points. I will hit the points. I will do that. I will do that. So I'm going to be implementing this tonight. All right, I expect to have you watching, but evenings, if nuances, do a part 2. Don't get bogged down. Okay, we'll do. And maybe that would be like if there's a lot of traction, on the story, then we can say we're revisiting it. So it's like a signal from the audience that the story needs more fleshing out. So I think that is an indication. Yeah. So that's a background or a backdoor look at how I've been setting up the live streams. I also try to do the recorded content as well. But that's not related to the live stream. The live stream is basically what I think I should be doing more of because of the audience engagement. The engagement should happen at the tail end of the live stream after presentations have been made and comments have been made, and we go through the comment section and then handle it. Yeah. I'll let the feedback drive me. So I've only been doing YouTube at this level for just a few months. Only a few months ago, my channel was at 300 subscribers. Okay, I'll be saying a few months ago is trying to be super conservative. That was about July of 2024. I was still at 300 subscribers. It flew past 10,000 in February of this year. So, but it isn't a big channel. It isn't. So there's still a lot to learn. And I'm glad that you guys have chosen to hang out with me and to help me out on this journey. So again, if you're watching, thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing the video, supporting the channel, and giving feedback, all right, either in the chat or by email. Sending an email to crossroadsirl@gmail.com. Let me know if there's a topic that's out there that I don't know about, like Enrique did, or if there are other things that we could be discussing that could be beneficial to the channel. What's our immediate goal? 10 active live chatters, 25 subscribers. Yeah, 30,000 subscribers and 10 active live chatters. 30,000 subscribers and 10 active live chatters. That's the goal. That's the goal right now. You said 25,000, but to be honest, my wife and I have been discussing 30,000. And that's why I decided that it was time to have 2 shows instead of 1. Having 1 show is like, the growth is going to be more spread out and gradual. Having 2 shows is like we're putting in all the effort to make sure that we're pushing out signals out there for more people who don't know about us to join. One of the commenters that I read today started following the channel months ago. I've covered his comments. There's a video I did that I will not publish because I don't feel comfortable publishing it. Maybe I'll put it in the members only section, but he's been there for a long time, and YouTube doesn't send a notification to all my 10,000 subscribers. I have 10,000 subscribers, 10,930 something subscribers as of today. How is it that when I go live, I don't have as many joining the live stream? I don't even have 100 joining the live stream out of 10,000 subscribers. All right, that's a question, that I'm having, and I'm trying to kind of fix it and figure that out. But thank you so much, Canary King, for the encouragement. So 10 active live chatters, 10,000 subscribers. So what you've done today is a huge help moving us forward to that goal. Another thing that would also help is for the people who watch live to actively like, share, chat. We have people who are consistent. There's I said the tone is consistent. He lives in Australia, so time zone issues, are big there. So, but whenever he can, he joins. Tara, my sister, joins. Intergalactic Wrangler joins a lot. Okay, so it's just a question about the people who are active, chatting, engaging, just putting in those signals. And even if all you do is sit down and just hit the 100% or the thumbs up, I mean, it's one way of just contributing to the growth of the channel. That is one way. All right. I know that there are like 1 million Canary Kings out there who would find the channel, like the way the channel frames content, and would always want to come back for a live conversation. I know that there are. So I just have to, sometimes it's kind of not, I don't want to use the word depressing, but it's not encouraging when you're like, okay, you go live, some days is this number of views, the other day is a lower number of views. On Friday, I had someone jump into the comment section to gloat about my low views. I was like, just forget it. I've been here before, and then I've been at the point where I was getting 100,000 views a day. So it's not a problem. We just have to keep doing the work. Don't worry about YouTube. Keep fueling the engine. Eventually, it will explode. Keep the fuel coming, and I will. Thank you so much. All right, Canary King. Let me end the live stream short and sweet. Tonight, we're going to be back at 9 p.m. Eastern. And I will be looking out for you. I hope you'll be able to make it. I know you have family and stuff to take care of. So we're going to just keep pushing forward. 30,000 new subscribers, 10 active chatters during the live stream. That's what we're aiming for. We're going to hit it in no time if we keep doing what we're doing. All right. So I'm totally on board. Thank you so much for being you and for helping out. I appreciate it. Now, I'm also going to be starting the live stream differently. I'm going to be jumping straight into the live stream without the intro. I'm going to move the intro to the end of the live stream, because whenever I see, like, there's usually the thing that the first 30 seconds of the live stream is important. It's just like a video. People need to be engaged from the get-go. So I'm going to start like a hard start with the live stream. They see my face and I jump right into the story, so that it kind of helps with the anticipation and with the content, doing well overall. All right, thank you so much I can see the heart emojis being sent. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. You guys are the reason why I keep doing this. And I'm looking forward to that time when we're going to be looking at the view count and we're all going to be saying, look, I was there when it was just a couple of people on the live stream. You know, you guys are the OGs. You guys are the OGs. And I will never forget you guys. You guys are my day ones. All right. And I will never, never forget you guys. Okay. All right. Hook in first 30 seconds. Grab attention. Yes, I will. All right. Thank you so much for all this. And until next time, God bless you. And I'll see you on the next one. Welcome to Headlines and History, live news reactions and your views. We're about to go live soon, so grab your spot and get ready for a sharp, balanced take on today's biggest news stories with a dash of historical insight. Stay tuned. Each week, we tackle the headlines that matter: politics, economics, global events with a balanced lens. We'll react live, tie today's stories to historical moments, and spotlight your views in the chat. From trade talks echoing the 1990s to crises recalling 2008, we're here to unpack it all. Your voice drives the show. Share your thoughts or historical parallels in the live chat, and we'll dive into the best ones. It's news, context, and community all in 1 hour. We're moments away from launching Headlines and History. Stick around for live reactions, historical nuggets, and your chance to chime in. Hit the notification bell, prep your comments, and let's make sense of the news.